Good evening, everyone. I am going to start with a look tonight at stock indexes before we start. Alex Limpkin is right. It's quite a good idea to have a look at them now, because I've been a little bit nervous for a while that in Bitcoin, especially with last week's weekly candle, that we are potentially reaching levels in Bitcoin where we are due a little bit of a correction or a pullback to retest some support levels, potentially at sort of 10,000, potentially a little bit lower, before we continue higher in Bitcoin. And one of the things I think that's been helping Bitcoin up, or propping Bitcoin up while we go sideways, has been the strength in stock indexes. And when I look around at sort of the other indexes, the overseas indexes, you know, we haven't really had big breakouts today. Today, we had a massive new high in the S&P, and we had a massive new high in the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is very correlated with Bitcoin, and I'm going to go back to my monthly chart because I really like to use big fib projections from corrections. So in an uptrend, I use the fibs on the downswings to project targets. And when we do that, you know, very often you get very good targets from those. And I'm always looking for the 1.272, the 1.618, or the 2.618. And what I like about this big level that we are at here in the NASDAQ at the moment, this is a monthly chart, is we are at a big 2.618 extension from the dot-com crash in 2000. So that's from the high, we put our fib from the high in March 2000 to the low in 2002. And some of these other levels, they've been a little bit woolly, but they haven't been that woolly. And here we are at this 2.618 extension. What this is also combined with right here is we are at the 1.618 of the most recent swing lower, which was obviously the big February-March COVID drop that we saw. So we had the big COVID drop, and we've now reached the 1.618 extension of that today. There's also, if we measure back to the swing lower that we had before that, here back in 2018, we're at a 3.14 sort of pi number from that swing as well. So there's a little bit of kind of, if I've measured it right, let me see, I'm not sure I have got it around there anyway. I'm going to take that one away. That's less important. I think that the most important is this red one that we're looking at. And so potentially we could see a little bit of a reversal or a pullback to retest our supports here in the NASDAQ. And so the one going to be to watch is going to be the S&P, because if we continue higher, having made new highs in the S&P, I think that we've got a good shot at 3,500, 3,550, which would be the first fib extension, the 1.13 from this high to low. But if we don't, and if this is just a false breakout, and we close the week, or we close this month of August back underneath this level again, this will be one of those false breakout swing failure pattern on a weekly. What you want to see when a market makes a new high is you really want to see buyers come in, buy it up and push it, continue to push it higher. So if we just sit here and we don't do anything for a little bit, and then we roll over, that would not be a very good sign in this S&P. So that's what I'm watching. But yeah, in the NASDAQ, yes, we have reached a pretty strong potential reversal level, a big 1.618 extension. And so if we do get a bit of a correction here, then I think that that could pull Bitcoin down with it. If we look at the moment at this channel that we've been in, really, this hourly channel, we've been in since the end of July. Here, you know, there's no danger that we have popped out of the bottom of it yet, and we're still kind of, I think it might be, you know, no danger at the moment, but I'm watching it. So let's see. So I'm just reading the comments. I'm not sure what people are talking about. Okay, so that's where we are. Between 11,500 and 11,700 in the NASDAQ is potentially a very big tricky zone, and I would not be surprised if we see a reversal here. One of the good things is, in almost always in these markets is you'll get a retest. You'll get a double top or a slightly lower high, or, you know, potentially a high that fails. And so I wouldn't rush to be selling this, but this is a very good level to be watching for a topping pattern. So that's where we are in the NASDAQ. If we now go and look at where we are in the Bitcoin, I'm going to look at a weekly chart. And this is a weekly chart, Bitstamp, because Bitstamp has the best history. And if I put my fibs on from the lows that we made in 2015 for this big swing, and I put the highs on up here at the high that we made in December 2017, you can see how these fib levels have been really kind of important turning points or pivot points, if you like. They seem to be working better than any of the others that I can draw. And so if that's the case, here we are. We've twice reversed at a 786 fib. When you reverse at a 786 fib, your target is the 38.2. Sometimes you extend to the 236 fib, but your first target is always this 38.2. And so here we are again, and I think that we are, because we've just done this swing again perfectly, seeing a little bit of profit taking here. I can also count 5 waves up, and whenever you can do that, potentially you're at risk of a bigger 3-wave correction before you go higher again. So watching this level around 12,200, I did think when I drew my fibs differently that we had room to go to a little bit higher, and the level that I was really worried about is in fact a little bit higher at 12,700. So let's hide those fibs for a second. If we put these fibs on from this high to this low, you can see that we're sideways at this 786 fib level, which are normally not that woolly. So that's not helping us so much. That's not helping us. We'll take that away. Now, this is the fibs that are supporting us. Let's zoom out. If I put my fibs on from this high in 2018 to the low that we made in 2018, so basically from December 2017 to the low that we made in December 2018, then you can see that these fib levels, which have also been working very well, this is a big 61.8 reversal, are more positive, because when you have a 61.8 reversal and you go down to the 38.2, which we did here, and then beyond, the 50% in the middle tends to act as a little bit of a pivot level. So if I put these letters on the right so we can see them, you can see that in this case, this 50% level, which is 11,394, is acting as a little bit of a pivot level. So for me, that's my bear line. As long as I'm long as a swing long in Bitcoin, as long as we hold above this 11,394 level. If we close underneath that, I'm going to be getting out of it and waiting for a bigger pullback. I'm going to look for initially 10,600, 10,500 in these previous highs, but I think we are at risk of a retest of the big round number 10,000. I think that if we look left, that's better support and resistance, and potentially back to the 200-day, which puts us into the 9,000 area as well. So I'm going to be a little bit patient. I'm not for sure saying that we reverse here, and you know that NASDAQ could just keep going. That big level could bring in a whole bunch of liquidity. Let's look at where, if we put our fibs on from the lows, let's look where that big 236 fib is, because that would be the first place that I would look for support, and that's this high. So 10,400, is it? No, let's measure it right. 10,437. That's the first major support level if we break down below 11,394 in Bitcoin. And then if we go to the 38.2, and then the 50%, obviously that takes us towards that 200 moving average. So 91.79. So those are the two really levels that I think we'll see if we continue lower from here. If we don't, you know, this is a 20 moving average. This is the big 50% pivot level. We could not break down. We might keep going higher, in which case all good. Yeah, all good. I'm just a little bit concerned. You know why? Because this looked like a bit of a wedge, and that's usually a bit of a sign of a wave 4, and this is a big wave 5, you know, which would point to us coming back to these lows down here on a retest. And in this recent swing higher, we can really count 5 waves up now, and so we are a little bit vulnerable for a pullback here, and that would mean for me back to the 200 moving average, potentially 91.79. So I'm watching out for a reversal. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you're long, you should be protecting yourself. And if you are waiting to short, we haven't quite got the signal yet, but we could get it. So let's see. If I was short-term trading and I look at these hourly moving averages, how we've behaved, you see how we behave with this 200 moving average here on the hourly, you know, this ABC rally back to the 200 moving average. This looks a little bit wobbly. I'm going to wait and see now what happens when we retest the lows, but you know, potentially we're looking at another swing lower, or at least a retest of the lows here. But a more bullish pattern would be a higher low and inverted head and shoulders, something like that. So it's a really good time to play defense in Bitcoin. That's all I'm saying. One of the main reasons, if you're a candlestick trader and you don't care about fibs or anything else, if you're a candlestick trader, in terms of Japanese candlesticks, after 5 weeks of really good solid upside, we have our first potential bearish reversal candle. This candlestick pattern is called dark cloud cover. When you make a new high, but you can't close at a new high, and you reverse, and then you close more than 50% down on the previous day's green candle. Some people would call this an engulfing, because we've closed below last week's previous open close range, the previous week's open close range. We haven't actually made a new low. This is dark cloud cover anyway. So if we follow through lower, below 11,394, we're going to look for 10,400 next. Okay. Miral, is that a dragon formation on I'm not sure about the dragon formation. That's not one of my specialities. The CME gap, I see you talking about. Let's take a look at that CME gap. CME gaps are quite something. My personal feeling about gaps is, if you want to trade for a gap, for the gap to close, you really want to see it close pretty quickly, you know, in 3-4 days. And if you don't, then they become support and resistance on the chart. Let's see CME futures. These are looking quite toppy, aren't they? Again, I've got this because we don't have a long chart history in Bitcoin futures. We've got this as looking like a little bit of a toppy reversal at this 786 fib. If we look at what happened at the other fib levels from this high to this low, this 61.8 sent us back to the 50%. The 50% was pretty good support. The 236 was resistance and support. And so, you know, potentially we could see a bigger correction here, and here in the futures as well. I think we can see 5 waves up as well. So we're due a 3-wave correction, and so far really we've only seen one swing. So we are due another swing of correction lower, potentially in Bitcoin. So let's move on. I've spent quite a long time on that and indexes, and let's talk about where we are in ETH. If we look at our weekly candlestick charts in ETH, we've got the same potentially bearish reversal pattern. It's called dark cloud cover. It's when your candlestick makes some new high, which it did here, marginal new high. You have a bearish reversal more than 50% back of the previous week's open close. So on the weekly, we have a warning of not that we are going to see a reversal for sure. We may, you know, this market loves to correlate sideways in an uptrend. We could just go sideways for a little bit. If this is not 5 waves up, which it's harder to count, I have to say here in ETH, if it's not, then we would be looking for this swing. Fib levels back initially, back to the 236 fib would be back to 360. I'd initially thought, you know, when I drew this, I put my big fib level on, you know, from the highs here in January 2018 to these lows. And I really thought that this 236 fib level at 396 would hold as support and resistance. You know, especially it was such good resistance, wasn't it? When we tried in early August. But when we came back to find support, we had a bounce, and now we're underneath it. Now we're just kind of washing through it. And so it's really kind of lost its, unfortunately, lost its power as support and resistance. I'd like to say, because we're back above it today, that holding above it will see us go higher. So far, though, this price action is not terribly inspiring, I have to say. Let's see. I don't think we've done a sort of ABC correction or equal measured move or anything yet, but yeah, we need to really start flipping these moving averages back above the hourly 200. Trend change here on the hourly in F would be back above this high here and this kind of level through the middle here around 423. You know, if we could take out that swing high, we could be on our way up again. But really, on the daily, what we want to see is, in fact, a 4 hours better way to look at it. So this was our new high here. So if we measure this, what we're looking for is a sort of this correction to be over. I think it could be. If we measure this from this high to this low, project it from here, the second swing was 61.8 of the first swing. So that's, you know, pretty good for a correction, good enough for a correction to be over. So I think if we do take out these previous highs, potentially we could go higher. Pankar Deluxe says, does ETH Bitcoin look bullish? It's been outperforming. Let's see where we are in ETH Bitcoin, because we had, in fact, ETH Bitcoin could be ready to turn up higher again and outperform. And that would be a really good signal, because when ETH Bitcoin tends to outperform, then altcoins tend to do better. The problem is that this huge bearish army, you know, it could point to just more sideways. Where we have pullback to is a fib level or fib congestion zone that was initially resistance, now support. And so, yeah, this is kind of ideal pullback support zone, this previous 1.618. If we look at it here on the daily, that's exactly where we are launching back from. And so in that respect, it does look pretty good. First green high Kanashi, we are starting to turn higher from here. Yeah, the only thing I would say, at least when I look at this 4 hour, is these 4 hour moving averages are the wrong way around. Whenever I see them like that, what tends to happen is we get up and there'll be resistance and we'll do a retest. So I'd now be looking for a nice double bottom here, something like that, triple bottom, make a base, let this 200 moving average catch up, and then fly away. So for me, that's what I think I'm going to be watching for tonight and tomorrow in ETH Bitcoin. This support down here, which I hope is support, around 0.033 to hold on a retest and then turn up again. That's true. Most altcoins are pointing down. Most altcoins have gone into a correction mode. And a lot of them, you know, stuff that looked really strong, the rallies in these altcoins have been ABC corrections, which is not against Bitcoin anyway, not necessarily against US dollar, but on their charts against Bitcoin, a lot of the altcoins have just made ABC rallies, which is not, unfortunately, very encouraging. But yeah, potentially, this is a good support level for Ethereum against Bitcoin to rally from, but I would really like to see a retest, something like this here, double bottom, just to be sure. I might be doing it now. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Let's see what does when we come back and retest the next ETH Bitcoin. So that's where we are with ETH. In all of them, I think that there is a potential for a bit of a retrace. I have to say this morning, there's a couple of them, and Ripple was one of the ones that's looking much stronger than the others. This is Ripple dollar tether. Now, unlike ETH, which has dropped back underneath the big 236 fib support level, this one's holding above it. Now we're still in a sideways range, and if we look at Ripple Tether, in fact, for the last 4 weeks, what we've seen is 4 weeks of sideways price action, haven't we? And here it is. And so, in fact, hopefully on the daily, what we're looking at is a big ABC in F correction in US dollar tether, and then we turn up again. Is it quite ready? I'm not convinced it is quite. And if we measure, because these very often end up being equal, we need to go a little bit lower. I think we haven't quite. There it is. 26.2678 is where I think where the equal measured move is, and a retest of that 236 fib level. So potentially one more push lower in Ripple dollar, and then I think it'll be ready to go. Or at a really good place where it could launch from. So Ripple dollar is quite bullish in a sideways correction. Not really, it's not really doing anything, is it? You know, it's not going down or up. We're sideways. The bottom of our range is 0.266. Let's put it that way. Nice M, isn't it? Yeah, I agree. Now, if we look at Ripple Bitcoin, because then we want to look at Ripple Bitcoin and make sure we're on the fastest horse in the race, really, don't we? And if we look at this, it doesn't look very inspiring when you look at it this way, but just hide that for a second. This is the 200-day moving average, and these are the lows from earlier in the month. And so we are holding the monthly lows in the 200 moving average. So if we were going to jump up higher from here, this would be a back test of this 200-day moving average, would be a really good place to do it from. So it is the support anyway. If we lose this support, we will see another leg lower, probably an equal one, and probably back to retest this support and resistance level at 2230 in Ripple Bitcoin. So that's what I'm looking for. If I just took off a fib level, I'm going to put it back on. The reason that I'm taking off this fib level, this is a big fib level if we zoom out. Okay, from the lows in December 2017 to the highs in January 18. This is the 886 fib level that we really tried to launch off. You know, we tried to find support of it, and now it's become resistance, 2620. And it's become pretty tough resistance if we look left. It's also the weekly 50 moving average. So if we were going to see a breakout or a reversal in Ripple Bitcoin, we need to see a close above 2620. And so if you buy it down here at the bottom of this range, that's your first target. That's where the first place you can expect to have trouble. And if we can close and hold above 2620, then potentially we can keep going from there. Then we've got another big support and resistance level. Let's take a look here. You can see it, this high, 2811, and then above 2811, potentially we've made a pretty nice bottom. So, Nick, pay attention to the 3-month chart, okay? Yeah, I mean, you can see clearly, for me, that's clear on that 3-month chart, that we are holding above this. We're holding underneath this 886 fib level, and that if we don't hold it, we're going to go down to this 942, which is 1334. So there we go. All right, then zoom out again. That's a loser chart. Gosh, so many altcoins look like this, and then they go up again, don't they? So, hi, Essex Hammer, we'll look at BQX. Let's move on anyway. We've done Ripple. 2620 Ripple Bitcoin is important. And we need to break out of that, 5-week range in Ripple dollar. VeChain is what we're going to look at next. Hopefully, if everything works. Now, VeChain is at a good level. Let's go to the weekly chart. This is VeChain Tether. I'll do VeChain Bitcoin in a minute. From the highs in up here to the lows down in March 2020. So the highs were in August 2018. These fib levels have been pretty well respected on the way up and down. 236, 38.2, 61.8, and here we have reached a 786 fib level and reversed. So if you think of fibs like a staircase, the previous one should be support. And if you lose this one, if you reverse at a 786 fib level, and then you drop it underneath the 61.8, your target's back to the 38.2, which is all the way down here. So that would be a sell setup in VeChain US dollar below 17,896 down to 11,659. Okay, so this is the support level we really do need to hold here on the daily. Look at this, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, no close underneath this support level, and so we are holding the support level. The problem is we're not going up yet. Have we made a nice ABC correction? It kind of looks like it. ABC. It's a bit woolly though, isn't it? And we need to get above that 61.8 again, and we need to get above that, more importantly, that daily 20 moving average. So I'm going to say above a daily close above 18,496 would be 18,496, and then more importantly 18,800 would be VeChain Tether going up again. And until now this is just sitting consolidating sideways and would be not very good at all if we lose support and head lower from here. That would be underneath these daily 50 moving average and party over. The 200-day moving average is all the way down here, 8745, and we're at 18,000. So that's a long way. If you lose that 50, that's where you're looking back to. So if it goes, don't hold on. Just don't hold on. Okay, so that's VeChain Tether sitting on support. I don't know what's going on here. Why can't I? Oh. Let's go look at ZAP Bitcoin. We'll do the same. We'll look at the weekly chart. In this one, we're in a slightly different position with our fibs from the highs because we've done that 61.8, 38.2 thing. You know, that's the golden ratio zone. I don't want to do that, do I? I want to lock that. So between the 61.8 and the 38.2 is where you kind of consolidate. The 50% in the middle is usually a bit of a pivot level, and that's what it's working as at the moment. If you break out from this sideways range, you look to the next wider out fib. So if we see a swing higher, we're looking for the 786. If we see another swing lower, we're looking back to the 236. And in the middle, to be honest, we're pretty neutral while we're going sideways in here. So that's where we are, big picture on the weekly. 150, you know, is support, and 221 on the upside is our upside target. What it looks like to me is a big fat not sure. Like, I feel like this was a big lovely correction back to the 50 moving average. So then when you see that, you're looking, is this the start of a new upswing? It could be. Is this a new wave 1 and we're in a wave 2? Maybe, but we're not going to know until we see this next leg rally. And if we see a really strong one that blasts us out of the top, then we can say, okay, yeah, here we go, we're on our way. If it's not, and it's still choppy and overlapping and in this sideways range, then we're not done yet, and we've got more sideways to come. So VeChain Bitcoin, it's a little bit flat and neutral. That's fine when Bitcoin's going up, because then the value of your VeChain is going up. But, you know, if Bitcoin goes down, this would go down too. So I would say below 150, get out of the way, because we're probably headed back to 106. And you would give back 35%. Don't do that. That's back to the 200-day moving average down here. So let's make sure we can hold. I would say if that was a 61.8, where would it? Yeah, we would retest these lows at 133, and the equal measured moving factors at 93 and at the 200-day moving average. So be a little bit careful, and not ready to buy this I'm not ready to buy this at the moment. I don't like the bearish cross of these daily moving averages. Only if we got back above that daily 50 would I be tempted into VeChain again. Lots and lots of people asking for SXP. And so we'll take a look at SXP. I can't really find it. I think I have it at the end here. But we'll make a chart anyway, if I can't find it. Sorry, I've got a bit of a sore throat. After going away and not talking to anybody except sheep and a couple of friends, and suddenly back and talking all the time is a bit of a killer. So there is this. Here's our SXP. Now, we were looking at this morning. Potentially in SXP, we've reached a really nice level to bounce from. This is a daily chart. This is our daily 20 moving average here in the middle. If we put our 50% back, you know, we're kind of around this 50% level. We didn't drop down to the 61.8 that far. In fact, we did. So this 50% level becomes our pivot. We're bullish above it, bearish while we're stuck underneath it. And we'll do that 61.8, 38.2 thing. So 24,682. I'd quite like to close above this tonight. If we look at this on the 4-hour, you can see how it really is a pivot. Lows, lows, highs, highs. So if we're going to keep going higher here in SXP on the short term, we need this 24,682 to hold, don't we, and turn higher here. Back to the 38.2. Watch out, because sometimes we'll come back and retest that 50% again, because this is such a sticky zone in between 61.8 and 38.2. But I'm leaning a little bit bullish and looking good, I think, in SXP. But yeah, I would really like 24,682 to hold. If it doesn't, there's a risk that we drop back and, you know, double bottom somewhere at this 61.8 or something. If you're long from 262, let's take a look at it against the US dollar then. So that's how I'm seeing SXP, Bitcoin. If we take a look at SXP, US dollar, we'll look at it on an FTX chart. Here we go on our daily. Again, this is a really lovely place to bounce from. Back to the daily 20 moving average. And here in the dollar, this is 50%. We didn't tag that 61.8 level. So looking pretty good, I think. 2.769, therefore, should be on our pullback where our support is, if we're doing this right. If we didn't, and the market's looking at this swing, which it might be, I don't think it is though. It might be. In that case, we can see where the level is, 3.12. That's what we've got to get above, 3.12. Because that's where all these sticky lows are, and that high. Yeah, I do like this. I think it's got a really good shot, but you need to get above 3.12. What you might do is a little bit of sideways ranging until we do. We could come back and back test, for example, 2.68. If you're long from 2.62, I wouldn't take some profit yet. I would just take a deep breath. It doesn't look like okay, so here it looks, look, this has stopped. If we measure from this low to this high, project it from here, we've stopped at the exact equal measured move. So that's bearish normally if you break the 61.8 level here, 2.877. So I would say, as long as we don't close below 2.877, hang on and look for us to turn higher from here. Look for it to turn higher from here. I think it's, if that doesn't hold, and if we turn up higher from here, we're going to look for this level to break here, this important resistance level at 3.12 and then carry on higher. If we don't, that's when you take profit. Wait for a bigger correction. And an ABC like that will normally retrace to the 786. So that would mean if that support breaks, back down to these lows, probably around 2.5. Okay. The SXP Bitcoin pair on KTON is clearly bullish. Okay. Yeah, on KTON it is. It looks lovely, isn't it? Back to this 20 moving average. The problem is, I don't think so. Yeah, it does. It looks at the moment. It looks pretty good at the moment. Let's try some. I need to spend some more time on this chart. See where that 2-3 is. Okay, that makes sense. So this first swing, that's normal. If we put from the high where we launch up here in KTON to the lows, where we stopped was this big 236 fib level. That's very normal. Then you come back and test support, and then we'll have another go. So we will have, in fib terms, have made a really big bottom at 43.49. So if you buy, if this is an ABC pullback that's complete, and we're going to rally from here in SXP, then 43,439 is where you're going to look for retest as a target. And by that I mean, look, this is a correction complete like this. It doesn't measure exactly. But it's quite good for a 61.8 anyway. So yeah, good luck in SXP then. On the daily, I definitely like it. First green high can actually, after a while, we should see some follow through to the upside because we're in an uptrend. Sometimes though, they take a few days to make a base, so don't be patient. Okay, next one we're going to look at. So we're going to look for a retest of 43,439. Above there, our next target is a very nice 68,580. Okay. Freddie says your biggest problem with trading is not taking profits. Well, this is a big deal because everybody wants to learn a strategy. They want to learn an entry, but your exit strategy is really as important as your entry strategy. And you should have your exit plan down when you put the trade on. So, and this is one of the reasons, honestly, I know it's really simple, why I use Fibonacci candles, because they act like a moving average on the chart and they're really good at telling you when this has stopped going up. So if you just traded sort of on the 4 hourly, and wait till they change color, that's a really good, it'll save you so much trouble. But the best thing about it is in the chop, you won't have very profitable trades. There'll be small trades. But when you get a really big trend on like we got here, they'll keep you in until it's over. That's the biggest thing. But I would say always have a target. When I first started trading, I had a lot of trouble with targets because let's face it, we're just guessing. And so, I'm drawing the levels on the chart, but I don't know if we're going to stop there or not. And so what I would do is I would have profit targets. So I would put on, say I risked $100 on a trade. Okay. When the trade got to 3R, so $300. So my risk, that's the amount that I would lose if I was stopped out, was $100. When I got to $300 up, I would take half off. And then I would try and run the rest until I got a reversal. And so I had paid for my trade plus a little bit more. And then I would then feel much better about running it to the next target. And another way you can do it, you could take half more at 6R, half more at 12R and do it like that, people not using stops, of course, won't know what their R is, and so that's a whole different story. We won't go there tonight. But it really it is important to have a plan and have your. And the worst thing you can do is make your plan once you're already in. Make your plan before you start. That's the best advice. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Next one we're going to look at is TRAC. Lots of questions. Lots of people are requesting TRAC. It's not one that I look at, but we're normally. Origin trail. Should we look at it? A Bittrex or on KTON? Let's look at it on KTON. Okay, here we go. So we're going to put our big TRAC Bitcoin. We're going to start with, and we're going to put our big fibs on, highs to lows, and look at where we are. Okay, and it looks like on this weekly that we haven't been able to close above this 50% level, and that's a little bit of a worry, because if you stall and reverse at a 50% level, you very often could go all the way 50% back. Now 50% back of this swing would take us to here, but it could be that we go all the way back to the lows, just because markets that mean revert tend to keep mean reverting. And so that would be back to 1243 and this high here if we do that. How will we know if we've reversed? We'll close underneath this 236 fib here. So weekly, potentially not a good place for us to reverse. We really need to hold this support. So now when we look at this on the daily, holding this 1851 support level is really important here in TRAC Bitcoin. Haven't broken it yet. A close underneath 1851 though could send us back to 1243. So don't hold on. Let's wait and see if we can find support here and turn up higher. Okay, I'll do these extra requests if I have time. Now here, potentially, it looks all right, doesn't it? Looks like an ABC correction. Why wouldn't we just, you know, here we've done two equal measured moves perfectly. That's our support. Why aren't we just going up then? No, well, as again, sometimes when your moving averages are the wrong way round, and even though you've got a really good ABC support level, sometimes you have to retest the lows. So that's what I feel like we might see here. We might just retest this fib level and then turn up higher again, or we might retest the lows. I do like how we have made a pretty good ABC correction at the moment though, and so this potentially between 1700 and 1850 is really good support for TRAC. So what we really just want to see now is it make this base go green and start turning up again. So okay, so just to review, this is why I like this. These two swings are equal and therefore corrective. Where we seem to be a little bit stuck though, again, is this 50% level going up. We can't seem to close above it. So a 4-hour or hourly close above 2052, that would be a good sign, but I think this is setting up to retest the lows first. So the retest is always the test, isn't it? Good luck in Origin Trail. Above 2052 would be very good. Do we need to look at TRAC US dollar? I think it's okay. I don't know if you can trade it. Oh, you can trade it against there. So yeah, look. Ooh, and against Tether, you know, here we're a little bit in that zone, aren't we? So we're in the golden ratio zone. There's the 38.2. There's the 61.8. There's the pivot in the middle. Looks like we're setting up a retest of the bottom before we go up again. So that's TRAC. We'll go back to TRAC Bitcoin. When is the real question is when Doge? Oh, Doge. Let's look at Link. Everybody ever wants to talk about is Link, really, don't they? How big of a correction are we in Link? Could we recover from here? Are we going to go up again? And so on. And this is Link Tether. Now, I'm going to say in Link Tether, for me, these fib levels worked all right. And so potentially, I see a bit of a support level here that we're sitting on at 15 in Link Tether. And if we can hold 15, I think we should go to 23.47 based on projections, basically from this big long correction that we made down here. But I may be wrong. So we'll do a couple of other ways. What I'm a little bit concerned about is this does look like we may have completed 5 waves up. We may not. It might not be 5 waves. We really do need... it's not the shortest. And this was... this wave 3 was 1.618 of wave 1. This was a really overextended best wave 5. And so we're vulnerable to a bigger 3-wave correction here, or a correction on the scale of this one, because it may be that this swing is done. And if we look at how long this correction took, this wave 2, I am zoomed out, mate. We're vulnerable to a bit more of a correction. Now, if that's the case, and this is a massive wave 3 here, then the ideal pullback is a 38.2. That's the bad news. The good news is we've already tagged it and found support of it pretty nicely. So it may be that we don't go any lower, that we retest this low, and this would be the ideal support. If we do, then I think that the next fib support is at the 50% at 10.73. So I'm looking for Link to hold 12.94 on a retest, or one more drop to 10.73. I think this is a big wave 4 that we're in, and in that case I think it's more likely that we don't make a new low and that we make some kind of triangle or wedge correction or consolidation here before we do another leg higher. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about this. I'm just gonna, yeah. And then of course, we'll see our wave 5, next wave up. Link US dollar, Tether heat map showing 10.6 strong order placement. Yeah, 10.7 is the 50%. 10.6 would be the 50%, the all time. 10.23 is a bit lower. Yes. So one of those two levels, I do think we could go sideways, to be honest, and not break 12.94, but let's see. Now, how does that look against Link Bitcoin? Let's take a quick peek. I'm going to go to the monthly chart of this one. I've been using these fib levels from this little pullback here at the start, mainly because they've worked so well. This one, this one, this one. We've overspiked them, but then this one. So, you know, we are due a little bit of a correction here. Question is, how much? Let's do the same thing. Okay. It's hard to read this. So if this is our 5-wave correction from here, then this is the 38.2 that we've already tagged, and then 101,189 would be the support, the 50% of that swing. If I'm doing it right. If I'm doing it wrong, let's do the 236 fib from the low lows. That's the other one. It's usually very good. There it is, 38.25. So I think that's going to be it. You know, 105 down to maybe around there. 105 and then maybe 85. So a bit further to fall, or a retest, or at least a retest of the lows in Link dollar, and in Link Bitcoin potentially 105,000. That's where I would be looking for on this pullback. Not quite sure that we're done yet. And this big level that we marked there is 140,000. That's the big fib level. Now that we're underneath it, we can see that that's now become resistance. So a little bit lower, I'm afraid. Okay. Okay, so order book trading and volume and all of those things. Let's talk about that. If you're trading Bitcoin futures, then, or if you're trading any futures, or if you're trading any market where all of the trades are on the exchange that you're on, and there's nothing else traded anywhere else, then the order book and the volume is really important. In fact, there's everything, because you're looking at the whole market. The problem is in crypto, as the same in FX, we're only looking at a tiny little corner of the market. Okay, so much is traded in Bitcoin over the counter that you never see through the banks, backdoors by the exchanges, you know, privately by the exchanges. And so you can't, the volume is indicative, but you can't really lean on it or trust it the way you can in a futures market where you know you're looking at everything. So I would say, I think it's interesting, but I wouldn't lean on it. Okay, that's all, because you can't see the whole market. And some whale can send, you know, a gazillion somewhere else and crash it, you know, and you wonder what the hell hit you. Okay, so let's move on and look at Haven, because everybody says, when is Haven going to do something? I agree. When is Haven going to do something? I think Haven needs some news really to lift it. What I like is how, again, we're looking, you know, you're always looking for equal measured moves. I feel like in Haven we've made a pretty nice equal measured move, and we've built a pretty strong base here. And if we initially, I was worried we would make 5 waves down. So this would be 1, 2, 3, and we'd make a wave 4, and then we'd have a 5th wave. Now, if we look at how long this wave 4 has gone on relative to that second wave, I think that the risk of that is gone. You know, wave 4 shouldn't extend way beyond wave 2s like this, or so much beyond the whole drop. So I think our ABC is done, and now we're building a nice little base here. What we can see in Haven, I've got high Kanashi candles on. Let me change them. And this is why Haven is quite interesting today, is what we can see in Haven ever since July, when we, you know, did our second wave of drop, is every time we've tried to rally, this daily 20 moving average has knocked us back. It knocked us back on the 9th of August, here on the 14th, on the 15th, on the 19th, yesterday, the day before, and today, hooray, we've closed above the 20 moving average. For me, that's a really bullish sign. We're going to go back to the top of the range. That 20 moving average on the daily should now be support. Let me get rid of that. I don't want that anymore. And so 20 moving average is at 13,190. And so 13,190 should be support now. We're looking for the top of the range again at 15,400, 15,500. But really, we want to see this daily 50 next, and that's at 17,000. And then I think we've got our reversal. So yeah, a quite low volume, but eventually people will notice, and we need a strong close here. But this is the first time we've closed above the daily 20 moving average in more than a month. So I think it's a really good sign. Let's see on the 4-hour. Yeah, you know, it's pretty slow progress down here, isn't it? But yeah, so I am pretty positive in Haven today, and that's why. Okay, the next one, that's Haven Bitcoin. People looking at Haven dollar. I know it's not very traded very much. Trust me, it's looking pretty good. Okay. The next one we're going to look at is DIA US dollar Tether. This is Sarah Khan in my group. She really has some nice ideas, so let's see what she's looking at in these ones. DIA US dollar. DIA US dollar Tether. This is a Poloniex chart. Is that the one I want? KuCoin let's look at maybe. No, same history. Okay, let's get these Heikinashi off. This is a nice new one. Problem with these new coins is we don't really have very much chart history to go on. What we can, we'll take the opening range, because that very often gives us a fib level to riff off, and that actually went a little bit lower. I feel like this is going to go a little bit lower. I hate to say this. Back to down here. So highs to lows 886. Normally 50% is first target here. Second target is this 236. So I feel like we've had an ABC rally, and we're going to do one more. And so I would line up to buy it here at 2.6. Now I would change my mind. I would draw a trend line like this because that's the first resistance, but actually trend lines need to be the highs in a sequence. So let's draw it like this, and we'll say that this is our hourly channel. In fact, we'll draw it as an hourly channel, and that if we break out of this hourly channel, I'm wrong about going one leg lower. Okay, I've got log scale on. No. Okay, why is it doing that? That's not supposed to happen. Okay. So here's this kind of declining wedge that we're in, if you like. So if we can break out of the high here, I'm wrong. But otherwise, I think that there's a risk here, especially if we lose these hourly moving averages, that we see one leg lower to 2.6. So I wouldn't buy this unless we found support here at this hourly 200 moving average and then broke out of this channel. Then I think it would be a good swing buy for a long. So above 3.44 DIA US dollar tether. Next one is KTON. Let's see which is. Let's see this one. Let's go to the daily. This is consolidating pretty nicely at the highs here, isn't it? So nice rally, big flag. Let's take that off. Let's try this on a 4 array. Okay. Okay, I like this one much better. I think this is a sort of bullish flag. So here's our flag pole, and here's our pennant or flag, if you like. And so I'm looking for a break of this one to the upside. And that would be the next leg up. I think we've gone A, B, C here to the 61.8. But if I'm wrong, then this will be A, B, C, D, E, Elliott wave triangle, like this. Sometimes those E legs end early and they don't go all the way down. Okay, so if we don't do this and then break higher, then what we'll do here is rally. Either way, break of the highs is a very nice long entry. And yeah, this new one does look very bullish consolidation in the sort of top half of the range. I would look for this one to break higher. Okay. All right, the next one that we are going to, okay, look at me, KuCoin, DIA, BTC at Coinbase. Okay. The person who asked me this only asked me to look at it against the US dollar. So Freddie says you put 550 in DIA. Okay, cool. All right, so KTON, I think this is looking like a nice bullish pennant. Let's see if this can break to the upside and not to the downside. SRM Bitcoin, let's see this one. These new ones where you don't even have any moving averages yet are quite cool. So what I've done here is I've put my fibs on from this low to this high. We broke this 236 fib, didn't we? And now it's resistance, and we've got support from the 38.2. So these fib levels are working pretty nicely. Again, it's like a staircase, 38.2. Are we going to come back 50%, or are we going to break higher here? I'm not sure. Let's see what we do. If we do break higher, above 15,045, up we go. But we might do a double bottom here, or something like this. We might even, in fact, do one more leg lower down to that 50%, in which case that would be a very nice buy if that happens. But otherwise, just new and neutral, and holding in the top half says each little dip is buyers, and so above 15,045 would be pretty good on our way up again. That's about as much as I can say about that. I think what I would then do, looking for targets, if we were to rally here, so if we were to go above that 236 fib level, I'd then put on my fibs like this, and I'd be looking for extensions from here. So take out the rubbish in the middle. So I'd be looking for this 1.272, 21,336, 23,794 for my first target. If we drop down one lower, obviously you have to measure it from the lower one, and so on. But yeah, looks pretty good. Next one we're going to look at is band. Everybody wants band. Okay, I don't think I thought I got band ready, but I might not have done. 1 second. I might just have been looking at it and then dreamt I was looking at it and getting it ready and then didn't, but I think I had it. Hello, I look at Tezos. Yeah, Tezos has been interesting, hasn't it? Here's our band. Okay, let's start with the daily charter band, because this has been amazing, hasn't it? Take that alarm off, I don't really want that. Okay, so what I did with band, and I'm going to go all the way down to the lows here, is I put my fibs on. In fact, I didn't line it up quite right. From this high to this low, like this. And so that's how I set up my targets. And you can see that this 2.618 got a perfect reaction, and it blew through the 1.618, and it's very easy when you've done that to go, oh, I think I've drawn it wrong and what's going on, and then this dead textbook reaction to this 2.618, then you go, yeah, okay, I've drawn it right. So then we got the 4.236, which is now support, and we got to the 6.854. If you want to look at the fib levels that I use, these I can draw them all in like this. So these are the ones that I look for. For me, the 2.618, the 4.236, and then all of these higher ones are the important ones. So 6.854 level, which was 144, that's where we got a reversal. And remember, it works like a staircase. You reverse at one, you come back to the previous one and look for support. And that's exactly what we've done here in band Bitcoin. So potentially, if this level holds on a retest, or we make a higher low, then we will go back and retest this level that we broke, 144,837. And then we'll go to our next target, which is the 1109 fib extension, and that's at 232865. So that's how I use fibs for big targets, and that's what I'm looking for. So now there's a couple of support, because we've had this big green candle. 50% of this big green candle could be our first support. That's the first place we'd be looking, and it looks to me like that's holding so far. But if we don't, then we're going to come back and we're going to retest this broken fib level again, 9432. So not sure which. Let's see on lower time frames. It's really hot. Oh, actually, I'd like to see, what I'd really like to see is this 50% back and turn higher here and make a lovely inverted head and shoulders pattern. And then in banned Bitcoin, then there's no doubt what we've got going on is there. We're on our way up again. And we need to do it pretty quickly because the best head and shoulders patterns, you know, are quite symmetrical, left and right shoulder. So let's see if we can rally tonight in banned Bitcoin. And then above 111,700, 111,750, let's put an alarm on it. That should do it. So there's banned Bitcoin. Let's look at banned dollar tether, which I don't think I have all the fibblers. Oh, I have maybe. Yes, I have. Yay. Okay, so here again. Don't like that price line. I'm going to take it off. Again, I've put my fibs from this high to this low. These are the projections. And it didn't work very well here. But we have at this 6854 definitely reversed. And so that means this 4.236 level. 9.39 is where I think the really good support is. Wouldn't want to see it back underneath that. In fact, we may not come back that far if we look at what we're doing here. Let's measure these swings in band for an ABC. Yeah, look, we could still do that little bit lower, couldn't we? And retest this fib level at 9.3, maybe down to 9. But if we rally from here, we're holding above this 61.8 level, then a nice inverted head and shoulders pattern would be really ideal, wouldn't it? That'd be perfect. So let's look for it to rally from here or pretty soon. You know, we need it to do that pretty soon. But otherwise, if we don't, look for a back test of this 4.236 level. Anyway, where are we going to go next then? If that's this 15, the next fib level above this in this sequence is 24. So if we can say that if we close above 15.08, I'm going to look for 24.28 next in band tether. Okay, next one is requested as ZAP. I know I don't have a chart for this one, so we'll find one. Here's a little bit of a sleeper. This one had a horrible news. There was a big gap down. Look at this chart. This is not. This chart is not for the faint-hearted. Seal, is it? That's a massive gap. But down here in the dregs, it does look like it's starting to have a bit of recovery. And above these daily moving averages will help. Anyway, not for the faint-hearted, that one. That's certainly the opposite of an uptrend. But quite a few of these hot ones are looking quite interesting. Anyway, let's look at what I was asked to look at, which was ZAP. I was asked for it on Twitter, so let's start with we'll start with ZAP Bitcoin and then ZAP Tether. Okay, so ZAP Bitcoin, we're looking at it hit. I'm going to go all the way out. Oh, gosh, that fib's going to be ridiculous. Look, no, okay. I'm going to mark this opening price here. And the reason I'm marking that is, especially in penny stocks, you will see a market when it comes back to that price, especially when it's been offside for a long time, you will see profit taking. So 21,000. I'd really feel much comfortable. And I think that that's what we have victim to when we had this big rally here. So we had this amazing rally off the low, but because we've been, you know, people who bought this at the ICO or initially have been underwater and offside for so long, as soon as we got back up here to, you know, 200,000, approached close to the opening price, they took profit, and this is what, and that's why we've had a bit of a hit. So here we are back. Have we it looks to me like we made a nice ABC correction, and potentially we could be turning up higher again. But that level is going to be a bit of a psychological, yeah, it does, it looks like an ABC correction, pretty nice. But that level, that's why it's a bit of a psychological level. It's back to that ICO price. Above 18,000 then, we do look like we're making a pretty nice base, but watch out for trouble at 210,000. Above there, I think we're flying. Remember though, that this will be the fifth wave. Look. Big wave 1, big wave 2, big wave 3, big wave 4. This is the fifth wave. So once you can count 5 big ones up here, you know we're going to be at risk of a bigger reversal. Wave 1 and wave 5 very often have a relationship. So up here, maybe 25,000. Let's look at where that 1.618 would be as well. So I do like this to do one more push. Yeah, they don't really line up, do they? Maybe that 1272. Yeah, not quite lining up, but yeah, looking very good for ZAP Bitcoin for at least one more leg higher before we see a bigger correction, and then we may come back to these 12,000 levels again before we make a bigger base. If I look at this on the weekly, good luck, I think. Yeah, definitely should see another leg higher. Okay, ZAP then, look for that to break higher from that consolidation. ENG, I wonder if I've missed some off. I think I have missed some off. I'm going to go back and look because there was some that I marked on that I've missed off that I quite liked. Now I put this swing fib levels on because I thought that we were really working really well off these fib levels. 236 fib, 50%, 61.8, so on and so on. And so I'm tempted to just clean this up and then put the extension levels on from this swing and see where they line up with other levels for targets in ENG. Big picture target in ENG is this big 236 fib up at 9357, and that's the big one. I'm going to zoom out. These coins have fallen so far, you can hardly fit them all on the chart, can you? That's not even the big swing from the highs. That's from here, in fact. Gosh, perhaps I should do this. I'm just going to wait for my dog to finish. All right, she's stopped drinking now. Happy days. Now, if if we look at this, I think it's easier to see this as a big final swing. Okay, and I'm going to therefore look at these overlays, and then this looks to me like quite an important 236 breakout, which means that this 236 fib level should be support. And then this level here, where I had the bigger 236 fib before, and these previous highs, is a 382. So now this is looking pretty good for next upside target, isn't it? So in ENG, if you're long already, we shouldn't go back below 5,321, and your next upside target is 8,011. Okay, and then 10,186. So yeah, a very nice breakout today in ENG. So buy pullbacks. Now remember, they're usually 3 waves. We've only done here big move up, one wave back. So we need A, B, C before we go again. But yeah, I absolutely love it. Now that might mean that we do a bit like this and then we carry on, or we might do all the way up and then a deep one, A, B, C, and carry on. I'm not sure how it's going to unfold. Sometimes we make a triangle, which is 5 waves, and then we go. But definitely ENG Bitcoin, as long as we stay above this 5,300 level, and if this comes back here to let you in, this would be a gift. I don't think it'll come back that far, but if it does, it'll be a gift. 8,000 is the target. ENG Bitcoin is looking lovely. Now, on my list, I added some that I liked that nobody asked for. I think I put on ARK, AION. Let me see. Just need, oops. Here we go. I did. Okay, DNT is one that I personally like. So I'm going to go back and just look at the ones, mention some that I like myself. Can't let you have them all, can I? Okay, here we go. This chart is District ARKs, DNT. Let's look at this weekly chart. So very nice bottom, bullish reversal off the lows. Look how far we have come back. Look at, I know it's only representative, but this is huge, lovely volume in DNT. I'm going to take this spike high to this low and say that this is probably the biggest, most recent swing that we're inside of, and use the 236 fib from this. No, that's not it. That's a massive first target. Okay, let's bring it down and look at this most recent swing. We're above that one. It's hard, isn't it, sometimes with these fib retrace levels. Maybe that's more like it. Let's see. Yeah, this just looks a bit more like it, doesn't it? And I like this because, look, good reaction at the 236 fib, and this is the 50%. So happy days. We can say now that this 50% level is what we should hold above. That's our support in DNT, and that's at 0.01635. This is against the US dollar, and we're going to look up to the 61.8 and then the 786 and so on. So lovely breakout from consolidation in DNT here today. 0.01964 next, 0.02433, and it hasn't gone too far, this one. You know, it looks like it's just after a long time sideways, just starting the next move. So DNT is one that I'm watching. Yeah, AI, and I like ARK. I really like too. Let's take a look at ARK. It's right next door here. This is a daily chart of this one. I like how we're pulling back to these moving averages, and this is a lovely base that we've made here on the daily. So we can see now pretty nice doubly bottom thing here. So if we break out of this sideways range to the upside, I think we're on our way up. Happy days. So double bottom, we need to break these highs in the middle at 46.34. If I go back to ARK Bitcoin, first target is up here at this 236 fib level at 67.25. So just starting its way up again, I think, ARK Bitcoin. I realized in DNT that I didn't look at it against Bitcoin. So let's take a quick peek at DNT Bitcoin. You can see here's this breakout from this consolidation that we're looking at, close at new highs. So it is a properly nice breakout. Let's go to the weekly, put the, oh, this is that one. Every time I look at it and I go, where should I be drawing the fibs here? But I'm pretty sure it's here. I think this is the most recent big 5-wave swing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we did stop at this 236 fib here at 137. So 137, if you're trading it, is where we should not go back below in DNT Bitcoin. And I'm looking for this 50% level because it lines up with these lovely lows. Look at this lovely support and resistance as well for a target in at this level here, 246 target. So I like District Ox to hold 137 and head to 246 next. That's my other favorite one. I've looked at ARK and ALGO. I didn't look at. Is it ALGO or is it IA? I can't remember. There's just a few that caught my eye while I was looking around tonight. And ALGO around. Here we go. So one of the main things of my strategy is look for markets that are trending or have started to trend and buy pullbacks to the moving average. So if we see this high here as the last swing high, last 5-wave swing lower, when we get a bit above that high on the daily, we've kind of reversed the downtrend, haven't we? And so that's what we did here in ALGO around Bitcoin. We got to, in fact, to a 61.8 fib level. Pull back to the 38.2, and now that we're back above the 50% level in the middle, I think that we're all set to go higher if that 50% level holds. So if I zoom in, 51.26, it doesn't look ideal on the daily at the moment, but if I look at it on the 4-hour, this is exactly where I would like to see it hold support and turn up higher again in ALGO Bitcoin. Next target is obviously this 786 fib level here, 69.24, and then I'm looking for these swing highs and so on. So yeah, new uptrend in ALGO around Bitcoin, looking pretty good, above 51.26 to me. I'm not sure. So I ummed and ahed about, and I didn't put AI on in, mainly because this is the top of a really tough sideways range. If I draw the highs, I'd love to see this break out. So from this high to this low, this 38.2 fib level at 12.99. We keep knocking on this door. This is regular candles. We cannot close above this level. When we do, happy days, up we go. So that's why I'm watching AI on Freddy. I'm sure you're looking at the same thing. And then hopefully next big swing up, right? Okay, I'm going to do XTZ, and then I'm afraid I've got a really sore throat and I have to stop. Sorry. Let's hope that I didn't catch COVID in Wales. That would be really bad. That would be actually terrible. Because the only thing I really spoke to is sheep. Okay. Let me see. Okay, this chart is a bit of a mess. Let's start with a cleanup, shall we? Let's take everything off. See what we're looking at. Yeah, I don't, even with your alert, I'll take that off. Okay. So when I look at Tezos and I zoom out like this, what I'm really hoping I see is a big some markets never make 5 waves. They do make just big ABCs, okay? And here we made a big ABC up, and then I'm looking for, here's our first swing, ABC back. And I think that was just the first leg of a bigger ABC that hopefully, we've finished around here and we're ready to go up again. However, what it seems to have done since then is just go in this really tough sideways range. That's okay against Bitcoin. I mean, it's a massive range, but, if Bitcoin's going up, then your Tezos is going up. This swing here is the most interesting because we have done a lot of, when I start to look at the upswings, these corrections, this looks like an ABC, but some of these up moves start to look a bit more like 5 waves than this one does here, for sure. So, and potentially 5 waves would mean start of a new upswing. So look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're certain. And then hopefully ABC and we're going up again. Is that what we're looking at? Let's see. It's just not clear, is it? Tezos Bitcoin. And when you're, when your moving averages are flat through the middle, which they are here, in Tezos Bitcoin, you really haven't got a trend, and that's was a bit of a problem for me as a trend trader. I want to see a big breakout. So I'm going to say the first thing I'm going to look for is a breakout from this little sideways range that here, where we're bunched up around the daily moving averages. And if we can break out from this sideways range to the upside, I'm going to say happy days, this is a new upswing. And so that's going to be the first thing. And I want to see a close above the 20 moving average, which we haven't quite managed today. Or let's put some fibs on and see if that can sharpen it. I want to see a close above this 236 fib, and we might get that today. So that might point to then, yeah, break out of this sideways range and taking out these previous highs. But at the moment, Tezos Bitcoin, just I'm a little bit neutral. Just not sure that it's ready to go yet. Let's take a look at Tezos US dollar tether and see if that gives us a bit more, because this is in quite a nice uptrend, isn't it? It's in a very nice uptrend. I think we can take them off, the middle ones out now. So sometimes, okay, I've drawn this from high to this low. See this 113 fib? Sometimes the 113 fib is where you stop if you shouldn't actually have made a new high. So you know how we talk about ABC corrections. So if you make an impulsive move, it's normally 5 waves. And if you make a corrective move, it's normally 3 waves, right? They don't always look nice and simple like that, though, 3 waves. Sometimes, for example, we'll have a nice 5-wave rally up, and then we'll make an A leg, and then we'll make a new high that we shouldn't have, and then a B leg like that. So this high is higher than this one. And when you do that, sometimes the level that you go to when you make that shouldn't have made it new high, or that irregular sort of B leg, is this 113 fib. So we're a little bit at risk here that this is a big A, this is a big B, and this is a big C leg to come. Do you see what I mean? In other words, this might be big A leg of correction, so a big rally, then we had an A leg of correction, B leg of correction, and we're going to C leg of correction before we carry on again. A big fat irregular thing. So that's why I'm a little bit nervous here about how far we come back. We don't want to come back too far if that's what's going on. Okay, so let's put some retrace fibs in, because we're underneath this 236 fib here at 3.65 on the weekly. There it is, resistance, and that's the 20 moving average. I'd really like to see us above that. So for me, it's not a compelling buy yet in Tezos. It hasn't quite all reset, and I think it's all a little bit risky. And if we don't get back above here, or if we turn and do another correct, keep going lower, then there's a chance that we do a big correction that's got, you know, so no. I would keep a tight watch on my profits. I would not let it do another swing lower. And because, yeah, if we do that biggest thing, you know, we could come back at least to the 200 moving average, which is down here at 2.6, and potentially all the way down to 1.483. So Tezos, I would just say watch out. Watch out. Not quite super bullish on it yet. I'd like to be. I'm just watching how it unfolds. Okay, good night, everyone. Thanks for coming. See you next week. Is it next week? Yeah, I don't know. Either next week or the following Monday is Labor Day in America. I'm not sure which one.